Members, out of respect for everyone's time, we will allow with testimony on the bill, even without the presence of the chief author. So I am going to bring House File 2908 before the committee, and I will move that House File 2908 be laid over. The first testifier on the bill is Aaron Martin. Please proceed with your testimony and state your name for the record.
Thank you, Chair Wolgamott, Chair Barrick, and members of the committee. I'm Aaron Martin, and I serve as the Policy and System Transformation Director at Youth Prize. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of House File 2908, the Mini Kids Act. During the 2023 legislative session, Youth Prize received a one-time $500,000 appropriation to engage Minnesota communities in designing child savings account models and make recommendations to build a statewide model. Through this work, we partnered with organizations in Rice County, Hennepin County, and Central Minnesota to bring together parents, businesses, and young people to envision how we can collectively invest in children's futures. The result was strong support for a statewide child savings account program that would help families build wealth from birth and increase post-secondary access for all Minnesota children. You can see more information about the support for this program as highlighted in research from a nonpartisan firm, which I encourage you to review in your handouts. You'll also see that you have several letters of support. These letters represent just a fraction of the organizations that support Mini Kids. At the bottom of the one-pager handout, you'll also see lots of logos from different organizations with the time constraints that didn't have an opportunity to submit a letter of support but have participated in our cohort or in our coalition trying to get this bill passed. House File 2908 builds on the work we've done since 2023 by establishing the Mini Kids program statewide, ensuring that every baby born in Minnesota after July 1st, 2026 receives a 529 savings account with an initial deposit, $50 for all babies, $100 for babies from low-income families. The program, which would be housed in the Office of Higher Education, would receive birth data for an eligible child from the Department of Health and set up the account for eligible children within 90 days of their birth. These accounts will grow through family contributions and state incentives, helping pay for college, technical training, and apprenticeships. Research shows that even small savings accounts drastically increase the child's likelihood of pursuing and completing post-secondary education. Kids with these accounts, that even have $1 in them, are 3 times more likely to enroll in college and 4 times more likely to graduate. Beyond education, Mini Kids is an investment in Minnesota's economy. A skilled workforce is essential to our state's economic future, and this program lays the foundation for long-term prosperity by ensuring more young people can access training and higher education. I urge the committee to support this bill, not just as an investment in education, but as a strategy for economic mobility and community wealth building. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Representative Katiza-Watun, welcome to the House Higher Education Committee. Please proceed with your bill presentation for House File 2908.
Mr. Chair and members, thank you so much for your patience. I ran here, as you all know, we're in the depths of budget discussion. So today I am bringing House File 2908 before the committee, which will build on the great work that we did in 2023 to pilot college savings accounts in several regions around the state. As our initial testifier began, we have other folks here to discuss the progress that has been made on that work. This bill, the Minnesota Kids Investment and Development Savings Account, seeks to build on that work and will allow Minnesota to create a 529 savings plan to help children and families build savings toward their future, college, technical school, apprenticeships, and more. These accounts would be opened by the Office of Higher Education for every baby born after June 2026, so that July start date that my testifier mentioned. And accounts will grow through family contributions, incentives like savings matches, and those savings help pay for qualified higher ed or secondary education costs. So I will allow my testifiers to continue talking a little bit more about the discussions that we've made over the last 2 years and some of the public input that we have used to build this proposal for ongoing savings.
Thank you. Welcome to the Higher Education Committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Hi, my name is Leandra Estes. Thank you to Co-Chair Wolgamott and Co-Chair Rarick and members of the committee. I am a mother of 3, ranging from the ages of 3 to 23. That being said, I've had one who I sent off to college just on a barely partial scholarship. Her journey began with that scholarship and ended because of not having the funding and not having things like a college savings account. I have a 18-year-old who is going to graduate this summer from St. Paul Public School. She is going into trades, engineering, and we are hopeful that we can get her through, but again, we did not and do not have a college savings plan. I also have a 3-year-old who is beginning his school education career, and I am hopeful that he is going to be successful and he is going to make it. He's going to have a very bright future. It's obtainable, and that is solely because we do have a college savings plan, and that is through College Bound St. Paul. As an advocate for the College Bound St. Paul program, I can tell you it has helped to sustain health and wellness through finances as well as mental well-being. Just knowing that I have that program helping me to save. I am a full-time employed single mom, but I don't make enough money to save for my children. I don't make enough money to save alone by itself, but to save for college, that's even harder. So the college-bound programs and programs like are needed. They are helpful, and they are going to aid in helping these children's dreams to become their education and career paths, and those education and career paths will become success stories. College Bound for me, it is hope. College Bound is education. College Bound is a career, and College Bound is life worth living and thriving. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the Higher Education Committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
I will, and following that, thank you, co-chairs Wolgamott and Rarick and committee. Amy Trombley, I'm with Initiative Foundation and formerly with United Way of Central Minnesota. And really want you to think back about if you had a savings account going into college, did that help? Would it have helped? Right? And we know when we invest early, we get the highest return on investment. And this is a great way for our state to invest in ourselves. And so we've heard a lot of great programs and initiatives today that you're all making decisions on, but we need people to be going into these programs. And so how do we grow the opportunities for Minnesotans to take advantage of higher education and post-secondary opportunities? It's a program like the Mini Kids. So first off, thank you for the investment that you made in 2023. Central Minnesota was one of the communities that received a grant to work harder for the Minnesotans to think about our future workforce, our future economy, our future post-secondary opportunities. And we were able to bring our community together in Central Minnesota's. It was key stakeholders, school districts, higher education institutions, Center Care, who's even here in the room, bipartisan legislators signed off on it, community organizations, economic development organizations, and on and on. And we talked about the opportunities about broad public and private interest that could make a program like this possible. And we know that this is good for all kids of every background to have every opportunity to develop financial literacy skills, community program that brings communities together, an initiative that will help our young people pursue the opportunity for the best post-secondary option for them, because they've been able to make those decisions based on what is able on an individual basis. Community engagement that we had was important, and we helped build the conditions across our community. And we were able to work with a cohort across the state, so Metro in Hennepin County and very rural in Northfield and in Central Minnesota. So we were able to learn from each other as to what would be successful in a 529 plan going forward in all parts of Minnesota and across the region, which strengthened the proposal we have for you today. United Way of Central Minnesota was so inspired by this work and this opportunity to be able to develop and learn about this for Central Minnesota, that they are committed to making this program available for all kids within the United Way of Central Minnesota region. And they will do that through public dollars, through private dollars, and through any opportunities. So regardless if this bill passes, what we're proud of in central Minnesota is that we were able to engage our community because of the investment you made, and it's going to make a better opportunity for all kids in central Minnesota. But we want an opportunity for all kids across the state to be able to participate in something like this. So this is great for community development. This is great for economic development. This is great for workforce, but this is great for Minnesota and investing in the people that we have here. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony and for all the amazing work that you do for kids and families in St. Cloud and throughout the state. Is there any member discussion to House File 2908? Chair Rarick.
So I noticed we don't have a fiscal note, but I have some data from '23. And I'm just wondering if we could have maybe nonpartisan, I don't know if they know this or not, but it looks like the first biennium cost would be 11.7 million and 16 million ongoing. And I know it depends on birth rates and such. So those sorts of things, and birth rates have plummeted, but do we have any sense as to what this would cost?
Mr. Savory.
Chair and members, as memory serves me, fiscal note has been requested for this bill. It's currently pending in the fiscal note system. I'm happy to report back to the committee when that is finished. I can communicate that to both CAs.
Chair Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The other question I would have is, this is, as was stated, very, very, very similar to the 529 plan. So I'm wondering why we're doing something that's basically the same thing as a 529 plan.
Representative Katiza-Watun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We, between last session and this session, kind of shifted to a 529 model. Originally, it was just children's savings accounts model, and that was done based on feedback from the participants and the community members who, in the 3 different areas where we ran the pilot, contributed, and they just said that that makes the most sense. So I'm open, potentially, if there's a way that we could meld an existing 529 model and potentially contribute from the state level into those existing savings accounts. But one of the distinguishing factors, I would say, Madam Chair, is that this would be an automatic enrollment situation, because we know that our lowest income Minnesotans are also often they're undersaved because of their income, but they're also underbanked. And so they don't necessarily have that first step to enroll in a similar program or some sort of savings account. So the automatic enrollment is a big piece of that. So depending on what the regulations are surrounding the existing 529 option for folks in Minnesota, we can definitely explore that.
The other piece that is a little bit different about the way that these accounts would work, they would be sub-accounts under the 529 program, which would allow things like philanthropy and corporate entities, healthcare, things like that, to make deposits into those accounts on behalf of a family. So if a healthcare institution wanted to incentivize folks to make child visits, which is something they're doing in College Bound St. Paul, for example, they would be allowed to make a deposit into that account on behalf of the family.
Chair Rarick. Was it Representative Robbins or Scott that was seeking recognition? Representative Robbins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Katiza-Watun, for bringing this forward. I have a couple questions, and it could be that I'm just missing it, so please point it out. But I was looking in the disbursement section, and it says qualified education expense. So is it for public and private universities, and are they only Minnesota-based, or can it be anywhere?
Representative Katiza-Watun.
Mr. Chair and Representative Robbins, thank you for the question. Yes, so they would be able to use it for public universities, private universities, technical or vocational training, and that would follow the same disbursement regulations, I believe, as an existing 529.
Representative Robbins.
Thank you. And so a couple of questions, I don't know if it's questions, but concerns I see that I'd like you to think about as the bill moves forward is in lines 5.19 to 5.25. It talks about how they make the distribution, and it's basically self-certification. they self-certify that the beneficiary is enrolled at an eligible institution, and they self-certify that they resided in the state for the last year. And so I think we could take this. I think, there should be more of a paper trail, and I would just hope you would think about that. And then the other concern I have is it creates these, I don't know how much money it is, because we don't have that thing, but in addition to creating the account, which, may have more merit, then we're creating this whole new grant program.
You create the Mini Kids affiliate, then you create the Mini Kids implementation grants. And it just feels like we have so many groups that already do this kind of outreach work about college, and we've been trying to streamline some of that as a committee. And so I'm just concerned about creating a whole new layer of grant programs. So I would just like maybe you to work with OHE and think about who already is doing this work. How can we don't need a whole new round of grant programs. So just my comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Representative Katiza-Watun.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And Representative Robbins, I definitely appreciate that feedback. I've never, unfortunately, served on the Higher Education Committee, so I know that you all in the room are the experts. And, I think that when we originally brought the idea based on an investment back in 2019 for the city of St. Paul, which was a public-private match, some of the questions that we had on the Early Childhood Education Committee at the time were based on some of those disbursement questions that you brought up. And I think that because of the pilot program and because of some of those partnerships that we've been able to develop over the last couple of years, we have been able to make some of those connections with local organizations who are on the ground and kind of doing some of this work already, and how we can certainly explore how to tighten up the proposal as it stands going forward.
Thank you. Representative Robbins. Is there any further member discussion? Representative Cleaborn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank the testifier. I mean, you came in and it takes such great courage to share your story and to talk about your children and the need that you have. But I also want to acknowledge the dream that you have for your children. And so thank you very much for being with us and sharing this deeply personal story with us.
Thank you.
It makes a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I add that
Yes, proceed.
I actually learned of the program during birth of my 3-year-old. So you mentioned that there's other programs and things doing this. I am a resident of St. Paul. I've lived here all of my life. Not afraid to say I am over 40 years old. And living here all my life, I've never had any outreach from any programs, and I am a program advocate. So I speak about programming all the time. And I never heard of got any help with furthering education, even having an IEP myself and having a child who has an IEP. Never had no one to point me in the direction of how can I get my children off to college? How does this work? So the program that has come now that was recently introduced is how I got here and how I am hopeful for my now 3-year-old to go. So I just want you to keep that in mind, that there may be other programs doing the work, but they're not out here reaching out. They're not. And I am involved in programming highly. So, I mean, it could be something like that. But College Bound and Mini Kids is really doing the work. So, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Katiza-Watun, closing remarks.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair and committee, for allowing us to talk through this exciting program and opportunity for our littlest learners as they grow. And I think that we need to continue working on different ways to encourage and invest in kids in Minnesota as they grow. We know and recognize that one of the cohorts, I guess, of our greater population who leave Minnesota and maybe never come back are our young people who are leaving the state for education, for a variety of reasons. And I think that this program will help maybe support folks grow, learn, and encourage them to consider coming back if they choose to leave for their education, and raise their family here in Minnesota. So I think that I appreciate all the input and look forward to working together. I know very well as a fellow chair of a committee that we are in a tight spot in terms of investment this year, but I think that we need to continue looking forward to the future and how we can make a better educational path for all of our kids and people in Minnesota. So really appreciate the consideration and look forward to any future feedback and partnership.
Thank you. With that, I renew my motion that House File 2908 be laid over. The bill is laid over.